Greetings ladies and railcars. Today's content might not be exactly what you're used to on the channel, for it has come to my attention that many duelists around the world are extremely befuddled by the alluring, strange, and downright indecipherable ability of a certain card from a very long time ago. The card in question is, as many of you might imagine, the Greedy Pot. At first glance, this is but a simple, ordinary, normal spell card. Such kind is common in Yu-Gi-Oh!, known in unforgettable all-time staples like Sparks, Muyon Curry, or the ever-so-ban-worthy Thunder Crash. Pot of Greed's green of elusive seduction might sway people away from its true purpose, a red herring of sorts, masking the clandestine function of this bewildering piece of clay. But I am here today, my dearest viewers, to let you know of the secret, the ultimate explanation to this puzzle of ages. Ones with the faintest of hearts should probably reconsider their choice to sit through this piece of online media, for it may be, for the lack of a better expression, shocking. Much like many other cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, the first clue to deciphering the ability of this card is to throw a gander at its effect. It may seem simple on the outside, for all it contains are 3 words, but do not be fooled, for this is the most bizarre and unusual of effects since Mass Effect 3. Citadel DLC. Let us analyze these words one at a time. The first word, draw, consists of 4 letters, D, R, A, and very unusually, W. Just how come there is a letter which consists of 2 words, those 2 words being W? This is but a weak hint for the first step towards solving the mystery of the pot. The first 3 letters, D, R, and A, very clearly spell out DRA. At this point, our Spanish-speaking viewers might be asking themselves, ¿Qué? Which, when converted to Slavic hearing to writing, could be spelled out as K-E. Ke. Dra and Ke are obviously 2 completely meaningless syllables, however, they wouldn't be here without a purpose, would they? By using the inversion of matter streams, temporal singularities between the auxiliary charges in the zones between the 2 can be expunged, leading us to the word Drake. Coincidentally, this word is also the name of a Canadian rapper, Aubrey Drake Graham. Why is this important? Because in 2012, he did a collaboration on the song No Lie with the American rapper 2 Chainz. Eerie, is it not? So, the word itself is way more than meets the eye. But what about the meaning of the word itself? In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, the act of drawing is defined as taking the top card of your main deck and adding it to your hand. Simple enough, or is it? If we use Tor browser to access the dark web, where using Google search only reveals results hidden behind at least 9 proxies, mind the emphasis on the at least 9 proxies, we will see some odd definitions of the word draw on the first page. On verb definition number 2, you can see an example saying a card drawn by 2 horses. On the noun definition number 2, you can see the example, he scored twice. Just to recap everything we learned of this intriguing phenomenon so far just in the first word, it contains a letter consisting of 2 words, those words being W. The first 3 letters lead to a discovery of Drake's 2012 collaboration with 2 Chainz, and the Google search reveals 2 pairs of results, of which both have an example featuring the number 2 in their second definitions. Obviously, this just absolutely cannot be a coincidence. And to further this claim, we reach the second word, 2. 2? Now what could that possibly be referring to? Due to its disturbing and seemingly endless presence, this number most certainly has to represent the core of the pot's inner power. It's a blink an eye and you'll miss its detail, but if we look very closely, we can notice that this particular structure bears the eerie resemblance of a serpent, a snake if you will. Furthermore, the picture being displayed right now is a digital raster image created as a result of interaction between the thousands of electronic pixels on your viewing platform, making this into a so-called electric snake. This seemingly innocuous weak monster from a very long time ago actually holds a clue towards uncovering the secret. Draw 2 cards. Did you see it? Our advanced effect decryption algorithms manage to separate a part of the text which is congruent with the information stored within the essence of the Pot of Greed. The text in question, as clearly outlined, is draw 2 cards, which, if you were an observant watcher, precisely leads back to the infamous spell card. So what exactly does Electric Snake have to do with it? Apparently, the rulings related to this card hide a very important detail which is borderline crucial to fully understanding the principle behind the matter. The ruling in question says that if the opponent would dare to use a Yu-Gi-Oh card effect which would cause the opponent to be forced into a situation where in order to proceed with the game's standard rules they would need to send one or more Yu-Gi-Oh cards from their playing hand into the Yu-Gi-Oh graveyard zone located above the main deck zone and Electric Snake is one of said cards, Electric Snake's effect will start applying, letting its owner perform the following maneuver. Placing their index and middle fingers on the topmost card of their face down or face up if Convulsion of Nature is in effect Yu-Gi-Oh main deck, and preparing their thumb to hold the two topmost cards which will be slid by the aforementioned index and middle fingers onto it, and afterwards drawing those cards with their remaining Yu-Gi-Oh cards in their already existing hand, but without revealing them to the opponent for a single second. This will give Electric Snake plus 20 use the Snake understanding 5 times. Obviously, there is a certain amount of information here intended as a misdirection to the actual purpose of the pot. As a secret this well hidden wouldn't have such a quick and obvious solution, would it now? Somewhere, this ruling hides the actual ability of the pot of the greedness, which we've yet to uncover, as the only clues presented to us so far are the word draw, the disturbing relevance of the number 2, and the connection with Electric Snake. What else does this number 2 indicate? If you live in primarily English-speaking countries, or if you're decently familiar with English slang, you might know that number 2 is indeed the synonym for fecal matter, or shit. Very interesting. Now what does this entail? How could this piece of excrement be of any significant use to our research? Well, some time ago the card Pot of Cupidity was revealed to the public, which was met with responses such as "It's shit" or "This is gonna be some broken shit, man." Notice anything? The word shit is repeated in both of these comments, so naturally looking at Pot of Cupidity is most likely going to lead us closer to the solution. Now, I am not a native Japanese speaker, so in order not to ruin the aesthetic of this beautiful language, I hired Google Chan to read out the effect of Pot of Cupidity for me. Here she goes.
強欲で貪欲な壺は1ターンに1枚しか発動できない。1、自分のデッキの上からカード10枚を裏側表示で除外して発動できる。自分はデッキから2枚ドローする。
Did you catch that? Exactly what we were looking for. Now, for certain, we can conclude that Pot of Greed most certainly has something to do with the player performing a draw action with more than one, but less than 3 things, but we are still not sure how or what exactly this drawing is meant to do, and what 2 things are the subject of this drawing. What does Pot of Greed do? In order to finally crack the code, we must look towards the final, the ultimate and also the most complex word in the Pot of Greed's effect, cards. Spanning a whopping 5 letters and a punctuation symbol, this word is likely the number 1 reason why so many adventurous, daring duelists give up on trying to uncover the mysteries hidden deep within this construction of earthenware. However, what many of them don't know is that this is actually an acronym for Collect and Receive Duel Stuff, as evidenced by the wiki, of course only when accessed by outer shell hacking. Lots of people get confused about the collect and receive part, but since we actually did our research, we know that this most definitely refers to the earlier mentioned mysterious act of drawing. See? We are very smart! Therefore, these 3 letters are completely unnecessary to us, for all they do is serve as a hint to those who have trouble focusing on thinking outside the box. Obviously, we don't need that kind of hand-holding, because we are smart.
Cards from my deck
Or
and add
are
them
we?
to my hand.
What is dual stuff exactly? Looks like we'll have to head back to the first 3 letters anyway. Guess we are very stupid. Apparently, these letters spell out car. Wait a minute. It's a transportation vehicle! Now, cars aren't exactly prevalent in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because trains are way cooler than cars, but here and there you might find things like car D, car D. What's so special about this one? Boom! That's special. That's not. Anyway, the word car obviously leads us to the next clue, that being the draw 2 cards clause in this monster's effect, a clear reference to Pot of Greed. Still doesn't quite explain the effect, but it does give us a very good lead to the meaning of the word draw, as well as the secret behind duel stuff. It says that upon fulfilling the activation requirements for tributing card D, card D, its owner is allowed to freely pull back the topmost 2 pieces of cardboard from their main deck and add them to their hand. Sound familiar? We are so close, I can feel it. After all this research, I think it's safe to conclude that draw does indeed refer to the act of pressing down on the top of your deck and gently swiping off the topsiest card on said deck and afterwards adding it to your own hand. And by this logic, duel stuff should follow. What is used in a duel? What is the stuff you duel with? Large monsters with big attack? Tricky, sneaky, cheeky, breaky little traps? Maybe broken rank 4 monsters? What do all these have in common? That's right, they're all actually made of this handy little material, cardboard. What does this mean? Well, this is what. If we take a look at the Wikipedia page for cardboard, we can see that it's used for, that's right, the infamous card game, Strip 52 Pickup. Now the Wikipedia page for Strip 52 Pickup's duel stuff actually contains a handy little hint which will help us realize what Yu-Gi-Oh's duel stuff really is. Look at this King, Queen and Jack. They are actually a reference to Yu-Gi-Oh's King's Knight, Queen's Knight and Jack's Knight. Naturally, in this case, the removed diagnostic hyperdrive damages anomalies at the quantum fluctuation point of these, leading us to the conclusion that duel stuff of Yu-Gi-Oh is actually Yu-Gi-Oh cards. In which case, we can finally answer the age-old question, what does Pot of Greed do? It's simple really. This card can only be activated during your main phase 1 or main phase 2. You can play Pot of Greed immediately by placing it in face-up position in your spell and trap card zone, or you can postpone its activation by setting the card face down in the same spot as long as it's not occupied. Upon the moment of Pot of Greed's activation, unless it was negated, the player who activated it is allowed to perform the draw mechanic twice in a row, which of course refers to the act of pressing down the top of your main deck with your fingers and gently swiping off the topsiest card on said deck, and afterwards adding it to your very own personal hand, without targeting or revealing said cards to the opponent. The cards, much like the main deck, are face down unless Convulsion of Nature is in effect, or one of the cards is Parasite. After the effect of Pot of Greed has stopped applying, the card is sent to the graveyard of the player who activated it, or banished if cards such as Maskir or Dark Claw or Macrocosmos are on the field. The drawn cards can be played as if they were in the player's hand the entire time, and they follow the standard game rules in summoning and activating procedures. If by the end of the turn or this card's activation the amount of cards held by the player who activated this card exceeds the hand size limit, 6 by default, can be modified with Silent Bobby and a rating list and hieroglyph lithograph, then this player must discard cards until they reach the current hand size limit, including those cards drawn by Pot of Greed's effect. This card cannot be activated if the player's main deck contains less than 2 cards. Effects can indeed be activated in response to this card's activation, and its activation cannot be negated by the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon. Have fun playing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game.